The member for Barker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for the Environment and Energy. Will the minister update the House on the costs South Australians are faced with in order to stabilise the state's energy system and the role the federal government continues to play in securing our energy future? Minister, are you aware of any alternative approaches?
The Minister for the Environment and Energy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Barker for his question and acknowledge his deep concern for the rising electricity prices across his state, like for the family-owned, fourth-generation South Australian business JT Johnson, which produces hay pellets for domestic use and for export, and it has seen its energy bill go up by nearly $1 million, Mr Speaker. That's why we on this side of the House are focused on important reforms to rein in retail costs, to rein in network costs, to invest record amounts in battery storage and also to get more gas into the market. And just today, with Ministers Sinodinos and Canavan, we were able to get a commitment from the pipeline operators that they would work with the gas suppliers to ensure that they would meet any shortfall for gas in the domestic market in the years ahead. Now, Mr Speaker, today, just today, Jay Weatherill, the Premier of South Australia, has been revealed as having no clothes, Mr Speaker, as having no clothes. Because just 2 weeks ago, when he was announcing his $550 million apology note to the people of South Australia, he was asked 5 times whether it would be cheaper to keep the Northern Power Station open. And he said that keeping the Northern Power Station open wouldn't provide him with the services that South Australia needs. Well, today we've found out that it would. It would be cheaper, 22 times cheaper than his $550 million apology note to the people of South Australia, Mr Speaker. And we've also found out today, with the announcement by ENGIE that it secured the gas contracts, that the Prime Minister's efforts in getting the gas suppliers to put more gas into the domestic market is working. And I spoke to the CEO of ENGIE, and he was very grateful for the government's efforts. And this, now we're seeing ENGIE bring on the Pelican Point mothball plant, will ensure that a second layer of paint is now on Labor's white elephant in South Australia, which is a second gas plant, is a new government-paid-for gas-fired power station, Mr Speaker. So we know that the Premier of South Australia has undertaken a big experiment. We know that he was in denial. We know that he blamed the market operator, that he blamed the weather, that he blamed the federal government, that he blamed the lack of a carbon tax for the blackouts that have occurred across his state. But now, Mr Speaker, the people of South Australia know the real cost of his failures and of his big experiment. And unfortunately, the Leader of the Opposition wants to take this 50% rent national. He wants to take this 50% rent national, which means increased prices for households and businesses like JT Johnson and a much less stable energy network which Australia cannot afford.